be more discerning.
He's called Mysterio.
Yeah. He has
that was your first hint.
He has a shady background, and it's him, stepping up to lead. But then him stepping up to lead, he gets taught the ultimate lesson of always watch your back. And then the post-credit scene was fucking beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not bothered with spoilers, so I'm just gonna hit out with it. In the final fight scene when they're on London Bridge, Quentin Beck says, "Don't worry, I've got contingencies." But then Peter just goes, "No, fuck it." He kills him. He gets shot by one of his drones that goes haywire.
Yeah.
And Peter says to him, he's got these weird glasses that Tony leaves him. Called Edith. Stands for Even Dead, I'm the Hero, which is just Tony Stark. It's fucking awesome. He puts them on and says, Edith is Quentin dead. But before he dies, he says, "Oh, don't worry. You beat me now. I've got contingencies." But you don't find out until the very end what the contingencies are. Yeah. And he records... I mean, you know the story about Mysterio. He's a fucking visual effects illusionary master. And he was a former Stark Industries employee that made that. That's another thing. They tied in other movies.
So he would have worked on the reconstruction thing they did for Tony Stark when they de-aged him.
Civil War. Yeah, that was Quentin Beck. And he's working with another team that have been spun by Tony Stark. So he's working with the scientist from Iron Man 1. Right. That Obadiah Stane shouts at. When he said Tony Stark built this in a cave with a box of scraps, that scientist is now helping Quentin Beck. That same guy is now helping Quentin Beck.
That's fucking crazy.
And
I feel like Marvel at this point are not only just flexing on DC, but just doing shit for fun at this point.
Yeah, just bringing guys in just to get them a paycheck.
Yeah, it's like, do you want to? It's like you go back and help your homies.
Yeah.
Like these guys helped get us all set up. We're gonna go back, help these guys out because they did the work for us back in the day. We'll help them out now.
Yeah. And so he's working with all this group of spurned Stark Industries employees, and the whole point is Mysterio wants to be the next Iron Man. He wants to be the next big superhero, but he's
immoral.
He's immoral about it. He wants to just step on people. He wants to put people in danger so people see him as the next big hero. So at the end of it, he's been beaten. Peter Parker does the obligatory. He's hooked up with MJ. He has to do the swinging through the city thing. Yeah, it's just standard for any superhero movie. That if they can fly, or they can web swing or something, they have to go through the city. At the end of it, up on the sort of big jumbotron things that they have in New York City, J. Jonah Jameson shows up, played by J.K. Simmons. I literally went like fucking this in the cinema. I was like, yeah, fucking dancer. And an absolute, not even shy prod at InfoWars. The set looks exactly the same. He's got the he's got like the receding hairline, and it's the desk, and even the backdrop that he has is totally InfoWars.
Well, that's from like the PS4 Spider-Man game. They had J. Jonah Jameson as a podcast on an Alex Jones level type thing where it's just absolute fucking anarchy.
Totally ran with that.
Right, awesome.
And he says, he shows the video of Quentin Beck saying, because he spins it in the way that it looks like Spider-Man's came in and attacked him, saying, and because at the end of it he says to Edith, execute all the drones, cancel the commands, execute all cancel commands. But he's looked at this, execute everybody, kill everybody. Yeah. So he's made it look like Spider-Man's attacking Mysterio, and Mysterio says, I know who Spider-Man is. He's Peter Parker. Yeah. So
they basically deep fake him.
Yeah, they deep fake him. Yeah.
They deep fake Spider-Man.
And then
they turn the friggin' frogs gay.
Tell us about Tower 7.
Right, I'm ready to go. We'll get going with this, because my only 3 points I've got is I started Neon Genesis Evangelion. I'm about halfway through it. I couldn't finish it all. It's
as in it's just too much in one sitting, or just
I just didn't have time. I left it too late. I had like 4 days off, didn't watch any of it. So I've made a mistake. Attack on Titan season 3, because I want to get people watching Attack on Titan. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like the wait between season 1 and season 2 was absurd. So it's fucked a lot of people off the show.
Yeah,
and some people just don't like it. It's not for everyone. But I'm now what it'd be like if you were kind of interested in it before. You should definitely go back into it, because season 3 has been the shit, and the last 3 episodes have been solid fucking gold. I got a game I started playing called Technomancer. It's bad.
Is that sounds like an old Xbox 360 title?
I'm struggling to figure out where it belongs, because I'll explain it to you during the show, but
okay.
Cinematics look like BioWare when they did Mass Effect.
Okay.
Combat mechanics look like Batman. Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah. I can't imagine a BioWare game that works with the fast, fluid combat of an Arkham game.
Well, good, because neither can they.
Neither can they.
Fucking got him.
Kill him.
Well, we may not have fabulous 80s style hair, but we're talking Gibberpish, aren't we, Dom?
It is a mighty mane that Steve Harrington has. It is a mighty ass mane.
It is the entire show we're about to talk about is filled to the brim with mighty manes.
Oh yeah.
And we were going to do a special little side episode about Stranger Things. This may appear before or after the main episode that we're going to put out. But this is going to be our kind of in a bubble talk about Stranger Things, because it's brand new. We're recording this on the 7th of July. The anniversary of the worst train attack in London. I've just remembered. I forgot about that. Never forget, but we forgot. But we were
never forget, but
we watched the show. It came out like 3 days ago. This will not be included on the main episode because we'd hate for somebody to tune in for the regular Gibberpish podcast, and all of a sudden we're just yelling about, "Oh my god, did you see when that guy died?"
Yeah.
So we're gonna put this in its own little bubble and talk about Stranger Things. So, how did you get introduced to Stranger Things, the show?
The same way I think everybody got introduced to Stranger Things. It was everybody that I know and their parents and their fucking children and their dogs just going, "Have you seen this new Stranger Things on Netflix?" And it took me a while to acquiesce and actually watch the show because I am not the biggest fan of Winona Ryder.
Right.
Because I watched Alien Resurrection, and most of her dialogue, and that's just, "Why does nobody listen to me? I'm a robot, man." She seemed very pouty in it. Like, nah, I don't want to see more of that kind of acting in Stranger Things, and I was pleasantly disappointed.
Yes.
With the lack of baby talk from Winona Ryder. She hits it out of the park in all seasons. She's a really good character. And just a lot of people saying, "Dude, watch this." And I never usually go for that.
Yeah.
Because the worst thing about watching anything that's been hyped up for so long is being disappointed by it. Because that happened to me with numerous movies over the years. Just saying, "Oh, go and watch this," and ultimately it was like what film? It was the big fucking movie, Gran Torino. Right. Everyone was saying, "Oh, watch this movie. It's a Clint Eastwood movie. It's fucking outstanding." I watched it and just think it's not that great.
It's another Clint Eastwood movie, but so
about
what?
Him being an old man.
What a surprise! He's a man out of time, almost like he's Clint Eastwood or something.
Yeah, all of his movies may as well be called Old Man Being Old Man.
Even when it was a young man, just
Even
old
when
man.
It was a young man, young man being old man.
Young man being old man being out of time. I was kind of same, but I waited until season 2. I knew that season 2 was coming out. Everyone's hyped up season 1, and I was like, I'll get around to it.
Yeah.
And then when season 2 came around, I decided I'll actually go for it. I'll watch season 1, binged it in a day.
Yeah, it is that kind of show.
And
very Moorish.
I assumed it would take me like a week, so I gave myself a week until season 2 launched, binged it in a day, and went, "Oh god, I've got to wait a week like the rest of you fucking normies." Yeah. And that was the longest week of my life. Season 2 comes out and takes all of what I enjoyed about season 1. I have weird feelings that I don't like the main character for season 1. He's not so much the main character for the rest of the show, but I don't like Will, the little kid who gets dragged into the other side.
Oh, Will Byers.
Yeah, I see him as being the main character of season 1 because he's who they're looking for, even though I'd say it shifts more towards Elle, because Mike was kind of there to begin with.
I'd always see that, especially in the first season, because it's Mike that has the most interaction with Elle. Elle, in my mind, is the main character.
Yeah.
But Mike is he's the sort of secondary protagonist of it, and he's the one that we kind of relate to in the most, because he's dealing with all this shit. He's a young kid playing D&D with his friends. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, this fucking crazy, powerful child comes along and she can pick people up and throw things about. And it's
weird psychic baby shows up.
Yeah.
It seems like Elle is your main powerful character, but because she's unrelatable, and that's part of her charm, is that you can't really sit down and have a normal conversation with Elle. Even 3 seasons in, she still doesn't understand basic concepts, like when somebody says "I love you," like what's that mean?
Yeah.
What's that mean when your dad says it to you versus what's that mean when your boyfriend says it to you? Is it the same thing?
If you look at the start of season 3, if you go into Elle's room, there's just dictionaries and all these different English textbooks teaching her how to speak English, because she's lived in a facility for God knows how many years.
She was raised as an experiment, not as a human being. So she was basically your main focus of like, how do we figure out how we take the most powerful character in the world at that point, and then make her relate to a bunch of kids, which was great because those kids are probably the most stereotypical 80s nerds I've ever seen in a show, and they're done really well, even though I don't like half of them. I don't like Will.
See, if you say you don't like Dustin, I'm throwing you out of your own house.
I'm not that big a fan of Dustin.
Dude, you're so wrong.
He's okay. He's the
best character.
And Lucas is the best character.
Lucas is the most.
Lucas is the most normal, and that's why I think he's the best
He's the regular guy, because every so often other people are dealing with this shit, and Lucas is just going, I want to go home.
Yeah,
it's dinner time.
It's dinner time, or there'll be something that like the nerds are like.
Atari.
I have things to do at home that don't involve you people that would make me much happier than dealing with you people. Yeah. Would you kindly fuck off, please? I like Lucas more because he's a more normal character. Dustin's okay. He gets a bit grating at sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, who in season 3 he gets a girlfriend. Who the fuck gave the kid with a lisp a girlfriend called Susie? Okay, you cannot say that thing if you have no front teeth. And that's his thing. He has no front teeth, and apparently has no collarbones either. That was a weird thing.
That's actual things that happen to the actor.
Really?
That's just shit that he has. He actually has he's got some kind of condition where his teeth don't grow in properly, and he has apparently no collarbone.
It's going to be weird because he's now going to be doing a show where he gets it's like a prank show about people. They think they've got a job, and then he shows up and like punked you, I guess.
So is it? Is he doing the next season of Punked?
No, Netflix is doing its own weird prank show with him as a star, and I'm like, it's weird that you're making a prank show out of unemployment, but never mind.
That seems a bit harsh.
Yeah, can you imagine?
That's going to get cancelled very quickly.
The joke was, can you imagine you show up for your first day at work and the fucking kid from Stranger Things is there laughing at you with his lisp? Like, dude, that guy's going to get punched in the face, but I was going to say, if he's got no collarbone, just karate chop him and see what happens.
Just hit him in the neck and crumble.
So yeah, the main kids for Stranger Things, I'm not that big a fan of them. They seem kind of annoying to me. I don't know what it is. They just kind of, you want to give them all a smack.
Yeah, I will give you that. Particularly Will.
Yeah.
I just realised. No wait, Mike. I was going to say Mike Wheeler. I just want to fucking backhand him constantly.
He might be the worst person in that cast.
Yeah.
He's very. During season 3, like season 2 brings them all together and
nail his mum.
Mrs.
Wheeler, goddamn, looking at season 3 like a snack.
Kinda gives you, like, season 2 puts them all into their families. Like, Elle becomes Chief Hopper's kid. Almost officially.
Let's face it, every single person watching this show is watching it for Jim Hopper. That guy is fucking treasure in this show. The Chief
is the Chief for a reason. He is. I spent the entire thing like watching him basically just chew the scenery. Like, he's working every angle and every scene, and he's the fucking man for it.
Season 3 is very David Harbour heavy.
Yeah,
and it is fucking great for it.
And watching him become a father throughout season 2, and then watching that twist, like off between season 2 and 3, he is now paranoid because he's a police chief, and the only way he knows to be protective is to be overprotective.
Yeah,
and that's
handcuffs and pistols, less talking and conversations, to
the point where he struggles to have the conversation where he needs to explain, you know, you're growing up now, Elle, and we have an issue here where you have a boyfriend and you guys close the door occasionally, and that freaks me out because you're growing up and I don't like it. But he can't have that conversation because he's a control freak.
Yeah.
Now that's kind of understandable. That's an issue a father has, especially when he has a little girl.
And it's already been put through the show that he's lost a daughter already.
Yes.
He's lost his daughter Sarah, so it's going to be natural that he's going to be overprotective.
Yeah.
Bordering on, lockdown status for Elle half the time.
Yeah. And that in that way, it's justified. And you think, well, that's good. That's his character. That's consistent. The fact that Mike is such a control freak really weirds me out.
Yeah.
There's something about like a young teenage boy being super possessive of his girlfriend that just like really skeeves me out. I don't know what it is.
But obviously I'm well past the whole teenage years. I'm almost in my fucking 30s for Christ's sake. But I do remember people that we used to hang around with.
Yeah.
When they got their first girlfriends were super fucking obsessive.
Yeah.
And very kind of controlling towards them. Like they wouldn't even go out with the rest of the group because they're like, nah, we're just gonna stay in. You don't want to go out. Like, oh, I don't want to go out.
Well, I don't want to go out, so I'm not letting you go out as well.
Yeah, that kind of bullshit.
Yeah, and just watching him, especially when early into season 3, and it's a weird thing, but one of the most dramatic moments is they break up. Mike and Elle break up, and Max, who is a girlfriend to Lucas, is because I'm really confused. Can you imagine not watching the show and then have us explain what's going on?
Yeah,
we're going to butcher the fuck out of this. But Max and Elle bond, and that's quite nice because during season 2 they weren't quite bumping heads, but they were never on the same page.
Yeah, if you go from season 1, Elle's the girl, and she is the most powerful person in the group, and people can orbit around her. And you go from 1 to 2, Max gets added in, and she's bossing the other guys around, and Elle's kind of, well, hold on, why are you bossing people around? These guys work for me.
Yeah.
what the hell is this? Then it's nice to see them in season 3 kind of combine evil forces and then start their little evil schemes against
and
everybody.
They get their little gal pal shopping moment to a montage in a mall, and I'm like, this is the most 80s shit. It is literally to Madonna's Material Girl. And I'm like, this is peak 80s. We've done it. The show that is peak 80s has hit new levels of peak 80s.
Hit the second tier of peak 80s.
There was a padded fucking jacket.
Yeah. I think anybody at any point would like the ability just to blow up things, because there's a scene where Elle and Max are out shopping and one of the girls that's been mean to Elle is sitting drinking a smoothie or something like that, and he'll just blows the thing up
in her hand and she just gets covered in it and everyone just kind of runs away laughing. You know, well, first of all, that's a creepy use of psychic powers, but it's what we would all do with psychic powers.
I think that's part of the that's the nice draw of the show, is she doesn't use her powers. She uses her powers in really, really cool ways that we'll get to in a minute, but she also uses it in ways that anybody would do, like closing the door, picking up books, answering the phone. It's how everybody would use them.
The first couple episodes of the show, you may be forgiven listening to our conversation thinking, why are you guys watching like a rom-com about this weird psychic kid in a town in the 80s in the US? This is actually a horror show.
Oh yeah.
But those first couple episodes of season 3, getting you into the lives of everyone, seeing how happy everyone can be now that the previous trials of the last 2 seasons have been over and done with. It really sets you into that Hawkins, the town of Hawkins, might actually be a nice place to live now that the door to hell that lives beneath it has been sealed. Turns out it's not sealed. Enter the fucking Russians, baby. The Russians. Enter the USSR. And of all the peak 80s things,
it's
the Russians get me the most.
The Russians, there's a fucking Terminator in there.
Oh well, no, that's going to be his own conversation. We're putting that one to the side for now.
That is, we can't stress this enough. This show is peak 80s in every sense of the word, and they hit every beat of the 80s.
And this thing is, I don't like the 80s. I think it's, people say it's the greatest genre, it's the greatest kind of collection of music of all time. I'd say no, it's the best catalogued collection of 80s music of all time.
Yeah.
Because there's some duds in there. There's some stuff your parents didn't play. Yeah. My parents did, and there's some shit in there. There's some absolute dog shit tracks from the 80s, but it's been so well curated, you think that everything that came out in the 80s was a fucking masterpiece. Yeah. Guarantee you, that's not correct. And Stranger Things has just enough of those like little shitty 80s things in there that remind you that this might actually have happened in the 80s. Yeah. But the whole thing of the Russians still wearing World War II uniforms, because the Russians never moved forward, I guess.
They found one thing that worked and stuck with it.
They got their style, you know. Every now and again, you just get obsessed, and people are like, you were in Chinko jeans for like 3 years after everyone else. You're like, yeah, dude, it's my style. The Russians are like that with military uniforms. So they've been building a secret base under the town of Hawkins for the last, I don't know, based on the size of it, the last 50 years. Yeah,
it's been there a while. Then they decided, let's build a shopping centre on top of it.
That'll help hide things. Yeah,
hide things.
And I actually don't want to try and explain the plot of how people find different bits and pieces, because it is kind of dumb and, like, again, peak 80s movie where the kids just happen to have
Uma Thurman's daughter just happens to crack the code.
Is that who that is?
Yeah, because I was watching it and she looked hella familiar.
Yeah.
Then my brother ran and said, she kind of looks a bit like Uma Thurman. So I went, right, I'm going to have to Google it. She's got one of the coolest names ever, by the way. Her name is Maya Hawke.
Yeah.
Because she's Ethan Hawke and Uma Thurman's daughter.
It's a weird couple to have a kid together, but at the same time,
she's got the coolest name on the planet.
Yeah.
Maya Hawke.
It paid off in the end. So
It's not Mike Hawke.
Takes me like
went wrong.
I have a second there to get what you were going for there. I was like, oh yeah, that old Simpsons joke.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's great in this season. Again, you want to talk about introducing a great female character. Max was deliberately awkward in the group, because they were trying to point out that if you're the new kid in town, or you're trying to make a new friend when you're in primary school or like early middle school or whatever it is for the US, it's hard. It's hard to fit in with a pre-established group, and that was a great arc to take someone through.
And especially when you're related to the bully of the show.
Yeah.
That was another thing, because Billy, even in season 2, he was a well-known bully. You know, picking on Steve and stuff in high school. Then, you know, I'm pretty sure he takes a couple of shots at the it's not the Losers Club, that's what they call them in It. And it's annoying me because the guy that plays Mike in Stranger Things was also in It, season 1, chapter 1. They have a name for their gang.
I just thought it was the D&D group or something.
Alright, whatever they call them. Yeah,
but like the group from
in Stranger Things, I'm pretty sure Billy takes a pop at them at one point. So it's always hard for.
Well, at one point when he finds out that Lucas is dating his sister, and Lucas is black.
Yeah.
And it seems like they're just about to have that conversation about middle America or lower class America in the 80s not having the best opinion of the black American community at the time. You're like, is he actually going to scream at the N-word at this tiny kid who we actually, like, we all love Lucas at that point? Like, he's not really a character that steps out of line or does anything weird or stupid that would piss you off in a way. So I was like,
he's the most consistent character.
Yeah,
he doesn't really go through much of a story arc.
Yeah, he's just there, and he's just Lucas, and you can kind of guarantee that Lucas does the common sense thing in most situations, and that leads to Lucas doing Lucas things. But,
and even in season 3, he kind of becomes the sage of the group. Yeah, because when Mike's having the trouble with Elle, Lucas steps in and goes, no, here's what you do. You're going to go out and get some cheap, shitty jewellery, and you're going to give it to her, and you're going to say this cheesy bullshit. Here's
how we do it. It's kind of like, here's how we deal with women, and it becomes this weird conversation later on that it gets really kind of funny that the guys sit around having a little bitch session, not realising that Elle has used her psychic powers to spy on them, and it comes back to bite them in the ass later on.
That's my favourite Will moment of the entire season, because you've got Lucas and Mike off having their girl problems, and Will's just going, guys, you want to play D&D? I set it up.
Poor Will. Like, I keep forgetting that Will was almost the victim of Stranger Things season 1.
Yeah, because he lost he was in the Upside Down for about 6 months. He doesn't get out until the end of the season.
Yeah, and you kind of have almost, I don't have sympathy for him for some reason, just because I don't like him that much. It just seems kind of whiny all the time, and that's because he's been a horrific victim of being transported to a demonic dimension outside of our own, that the Russians are trying to tap into and release all hell again, which obviously scares the shit out of him, because he's been there for 6 months.
Yeah, he was there for a while.
But he has his own story arc where he's trying to deal with the fact that, as everyone has girl problems, has a girlfriend, is thinking about what happens next when, they want to go to college or whatever. He is stuck with this thing of, I just want to be with my friends and play D&D.
Yeah, he's definitely the character that can't really face that everyone's grown up, but I think it works in the show because he was gone for such a length of time. Yeah. And then the Upside Down, I can only imagine he's seen some amount of horrors, and whatever dragged him in there was probably a horrific ordeal. So he just wants to forget all that shit and be normal again. But again, living in the town of Hawkins, while it may look idyllic, he's never going to have that normal D&D basement, go on bike ride type life.
So the Russians have a secret military base that is fucking huge. And they have
to get around on little Austin Powers go-karts. I wanted a 3-point turn scene just to try and get them used to the idea of, like, it's weird that the kids walk through it and, like, it took us 6 hours to walk through this. I'm like, wait, you guys were walking down a single corridor for 6 hours and no one spotted you. No carts went one way or the other when this is a busy military base. Yeah. No security cameras, not even like shitty 80s ones. Yeah. Nothing like that. And no Russians just kind of warned about, like, hey, why are there 4 kids walking through it in, like, fake sailor suits? Yeah. Why is the little black girl got a helmet with torches on either side of it?
She never turns off for 24 hours. That somehow still have batteries.
The radio ran out of battery, but the torches stayed on. And she says that they were down there for 24 hours. Yeah. That's some long-ass Duracell motherfucking batteries.
that's an advert for Duracell. Or just the number of batteries she has in that My Little Pony bag is absurd. Yeah. And I enjoy those, like, kind of the sneaking sections, but because it's apparently they spent 24 hours in a secret Russian base without being detected while the lights were on, like while they've got the headlamps on and everything, and were never detected, kind of bugs me for some reason. Just some of it, you hear people who are complaining about, like, I counted the bullets that John Wick fired, and he has a 17 round magazine but fired 30 bullets out of it. It's total bullshit. For some reason, those people annoy me, but then I see it in Stranger Things and I'm like, actually, this kind of weird inconsistency of, like, it's because of the heroes they get saved kind of thing happens, and it bugs me a little bit. But other than that, the scenes in the base are weird because they've got their own theme and their own style. Like, it's all cold, it's all sterile, and it's very futuristic in a way, because it does look like Austin Powers' evil villain bases. Yeah. But at the same time, it's also like 80s Russian technology, so it does look kind of shitty in a way.
Yeah, it looks like old Apple II computers and shit.
Yeah.
But again, if this show, as we've said, I think about 6 or 7 times already, it's peak 80s. Yeah. The hero always gets in and out relatively unscathed. Again, a couple of characters get the shit kicked out of them and drugged. So, yeah. Which we'll get onto in a bit. It's always, I never really batted an eyelid at it, because, again, they're going for that peak 80s aesthetic, and in every 80s movie you can think of, they always get into the secret base and they get out with literally no trouble.
Yes.
And they were kids, so I mean, how many Russian spies are going to look for a group of kids?
Yeah.
One of which kind of looks a bit like Donald Duck.
But at the same time, how many like Russian soldiers would you expect to ignore said kids on a military base?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's weird that for some reason, obviously it's because they're inside the Russian base, they become Russian military. But for some reason, the look of the guys on the outside of the base who are just guarding the secret entrance, which we won't spoil for anyone, like those guys look completely different, entirely almost to look fake American compared to the Russians inside. And when you realise how many of the Russians are involved in the mall security in general, those guys are like, wait, how big is this Russian operation? Like, how has no one spotted this when they're talking in Russian on the walkie-talkies as they walk through the mall? How did nobody in the middle of the 80s, again, we're talking peak 80s, we're talking peak Cold War, how does nobody go, that guy sounds foreign? Yeah. Why is no one stopping him? Well, who let that guy in here?
Surely they must have some Americans on staff, so you can imagine they're just going, alright, okay, who have we got in today? Alright, you're going to be running the security at this side, and Boris, Alexei, and Sergei, you're good American boys. You can go and watch the American Outlet store, because we've heard that a couple of people have been ransacking that place. Then we'll have Mike, Jeff, and Steve. You can go over this side.
Can you imagine the idea that there would be like this secret Russian operation, but at the same time they also have to keep up appearances and run regular mall security? Like, on one hand, you might be like protecting the motherland, but at the same time also dealing with child who steals toy.
Can you imagine the radio phone call? Sergei, we need you to transport the fuel. I will do that. Da.
For the motherland.
Spasiba, tovarich. Hangs up. Then he gets another call. She's like, yeah, somebody's been stealing ice cream from the food court. We need you to go and check it out. Da.
That just racks the fucking lock and goes downstairs.
Which child steal ice cream?
Boris
Sergei,
would like
what you doing there? What you doing there, buddy? See, you got a gun. He only stole one scoop.
He stole a scoop. Calm down, Sergei. It's
the flag starts waving in the background and mows everybody down. He's just mowing everybody down.
Remember, no ice cream.
Starcourt, motherfucker.
The one thing I'll say though, as well as the Russian base, the Starcourt set is amazing. There's something about looking at 80s malls that's just really weird. If you've been to like American malls, it's a fucking trip, dude. Yeah. They're so like, there's the closest mall we have is the Howgate in Falkirk, and that is not even on like half the level of something like an American mall.
I think the only two places that are keeping the Howgate shopping centre open is the Falkirk Council one-stop shop, so people can go in and pay bills and pay council tax, and the gym, the Exercise for Less gym. That's the only two things that are keeping that up.
Yeah,
but it's not even on the same level. I think we have a couple of sweet shops, but then you go into, I've never been to America, but I've been to bigger shopping centres abroad, and it's just, holy shit, we don't have nothing like this back here.
Yeah, and there's something about like the old 80s, like the old 80s Gap you can see in the background is like people are like fighting for their lives. You can just see like a Gap with a flickering light in the background. I'm like, that's the Gap. I forgot that the Gap was a shop for a while. And they have like all this weird like old like hot dog on a stick.
Yeah, that's the least appetizing thing I've ever seen. Because when they debut the Starcourt Mall, it shows you kind of fly through the food court in certain shops. As they're going up to the ice cream shop, that's kind of a main set piece in the show. It shows you someone making, was it corn dog? I think they call it.
It is a corn dog, yeah.
Yeah, they dip. It's just a hot dog on a stick in the butter, and then they fry it.
Yeah.
How do people eat that?
We're Scottish. We fry everything.
Yeah, that still looks disgusting.
Yeah, it's peak 80s America. Yeah. And it's interesting to see as well. Obviously, right now the world is having an issue where Amazon owns everything.
Oh yeah.
And we're like a week away from Amazon Prime Day, and we know it's horrible. It's unethical. They treat the workers like shit. I'm still about to go blow about a couple $100 in Amazon. Yeah. Because it's a sale. It's a bargain.
Yeah. Cheap shit.
But you hear all the complaints about the high streets dying because of Amazon. And at the same time, during Stranger Things, they have the same issue with the mum and pop stores dying because the mall on the high street is coming. Yeah. And it's just funny to see that like it's been 30 years. Kind of the
reverse of our situation.
Yeah. Well, it's been 30 years and the problems just shifted. It went from like small mum and pop stores into the high street and the mall, which were big corporations, and then all of a sudden there's an even bigger corporation, and now we're paranoid about that. It's just the evolution of the problem hasn't really, we've not fixed anything.
Yeah, we've not fixed it, we've just shifted it along. But
I found that very interesting, and again, I was talking about like the cars, like the muscle car that Billy has.
Yeah, the Camaro that he has.
It's a beast.
Yeah, I didn't when he crashes, and I think it's
episode 1.
Episode 1 when he crashes his car. I wasn't thinking, oh, I wonder if Billy's safe, because you're not meant to like Billy.
Yeah,
Billy's a heel. He's the wrestler bad guy character that you're just meant to not like. Certain female characters in the show, they want the diddly.
Oh yes,
they want that Billy diddly.
Season the episode 1 preview was, and as I say, was talking about the first 90 minutes. I'd say the first 90 minutes with Hawkins, with the exception of Billy's car crash and what happens afterwards, is idyllic, and Billy being like the bad boy going around trying to get the MILF action going on, because there's some MILFs out there who want them some bad boy.
Oh yeah,
and they're gagging for the D. Yeah. It's brilliant. I love it.
Wheeler was thirsty as fuck.
Thirsty AF. And
just to finish off my point, you're not meant to like Billy, but when his car crashes, I wasn't bothered about him. I was like, dude, that Camaro is sweet. You better get that shit fixed.
Still working though. Still working apparently. So Billy crashes, and it's because of people basically being psychically drawn, or rats are getting psychically drawn towards a tendril of the flare that was released in season 2. Because the flare from season 2 lodged itself into Will and tried to escape back to the other world, or the Upside Down, but was accidentally just kind of unleashed on the world and hid in a little corner waiting to kind of get back when Elle sealed the gate. And it has been building up a force, and it does so in the creepiest fucking way possible, of just bringing hordes of rats into a little mechanic shop where its essence, I guess, is hiding.
Well, the way they build it up is the Mind Flayer isn't really a physical being. It's just evil nastiness. We'll probably find out what the proper thing is in season 4, maybe beyond. Although I kind of hope they don't tell us what it is. I like the idea of it just being an evil, like omnipotent entity that just hangs around the background and tries to influence things.
Yes,
but the gate is opening, and the Mind Flayer's coming out, and it, like I said, it takes over Will. And it gets exorcised from Will. Now this thing just. It escaped and never made it back to its own realm, so it's just trying to amass a force, and it's psychically linked to a couple of people, although it uses Billy as a kind of emissary.
It starts with rats, so it builds up a bit of mass, so it exists as an essence, gathers rats, because the rats are weak-willed, so it's just it's a simple creature. You take it over, you gather them together, you form a body by melting them, in a way, like they microwave themselves somehow. It was creepy as all hell, and when you watch it happen, like it happens to the first couple of rats, and you're like, oh wow, that's really and it gets worse and worse and worse, and they show more rats just kind of popping off in this weird basement, and then you just kind of form together into what becomes the Mind Flayer's body,
kind of big meat Voltron,
which you never really see, which is good. Because one thing that this show does really well is the horror in this has changed into this weird, not quite zombie apocalypse type thing, but there's a weird kind of zombie-esque, but also at the same time very I was gonna say like Cthulhu, kind of Lovecraftian horror, where it's about the unknown, like what you say. If we never find out what the Mind Flayer really is, that'd be great, because then it just becomes this other thing in another realm, just kind of waiting for humanity to crack the gate, and it can just slip in and fuck everything over.
It becomes this eldritch horror that it has no proper shape or form, but we know it's there. We've seen a form of it.
Yeah, and once it starts to take forms, it actually abducts Billy after his car crash. Like he looks for help and goes into the steel forge and goes to try and find somewhere to try and help him out, and he goes, I'll go down these stairs, which we've just seen the horde of rats pour through, and you're like, oh no, Billy, don't go down there, don't go down there, Billy.
Isn't it that he crashes the car, and then he's wandering about, he tries to go back into the car, he gets ripped out of the car, then he gets dragged down below. He's getting dragged down against his will, because I remember one scene when he's grabbing onto the top of the staircase.
Yeah, actually,
and he just gets
you're right.
ripped down.
Because there's a moment of like, he might just make. Oh no.
Yeah, because he's going, all right, Billy's a dick, but you want him. You know what's coming for him.
He could be redeemable.
Yeah, he could be redeemable.
Yeah,
and he kind of is.
Yeah,
but you don't want him to be attacked by the Mind Flayer. You want to see him get his ass kicked.
Yeah,
like get him punched in the jaw or something. But you don't want to see him get taken over by some horror.
Yeah. He could do with a lesson, maybe not this lesson.
Yeah, maybe not that harsh a lesson.
So we're basically left with Billy being in the control of the Mind Flayer, episode 1, and then episode 2 comes back, and we see like Mind Flayed Billy trying to like survive, I guess, trying to figure out how to be air quotes normal.
The hangover scene, as I call it.
Yeah,
because he's just the light's beating down on him. He's trying to hide underneath the parasol, and
Yeah, he's basically just his mind shredded to pieces and tries to recreate, in effect, the initial reveal of Billy for season 3, which is him shirtless going to his lifeguard position, never being like, God damn.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, it's the retake of it is him just being like, oh God, I want to die. I can't. Ugh.
Cap on, sunglasses, t-shirt,
visibly shivering, pale, like way paler than he was before. It's a really good like kind of recut of what they did for the episode 1.
Yeah.
Because in episode 1 you're like, God damn, the man's an Adonis, and then episode 2 you're like, that man's a shivering wreck.
Yeah, that guy is coming off something. He's getting withdrawals.
And the gradual twisting of like him becoming more and more possessed by the Mind Flayer as he basically starts human sacrificing people towards this new eldritch god.
Yeah, he basically goes the full Pied Piper and just starts bringing people in.
Yeah.
Successfully, because within a couple of episodes he gets a shit ton of people.
I think it's episode 4 they have the reveal that for me was really cool was the Mind Flayer now has a decently sized physical body. It's about the size of a gorilla, I guess. Yeah. Maybe a bit taller. But then it shows you all these people who've now obedient and flayed and want to be part of, or who are going to work for the Mind Flayer. And there's like a room of like 30 people, including like a couple cops. There's like a postman or whatever.
Yeah, there's a postman. There's the editor of the newspaper. There's in fact, there's a few newspaper editors. There's one of his co-workers' parents have all been dragged in there. He's amassed that fucking force.
And you look at it and you go, oh, this is how fucked the kids are in this season. Yeah. Like the town has been turned against them.
Yeah.
In a weird way, and it's very effective, especially like the way it's all shot, where it's all just above everyone's head and it keeps pulling back and back and back with this really dark room, but there's just enough light to see the faces and like a couple of identities of people. I know that guy. Like I've seen him in the background of another shot from earlier in the show. He's against them. Like he was huge. Yeah.
Then you just see for me, it was seeing the old woman. Like, oh, that's the old woman that was trying to help Nancy. Oh fuck, she's gone.
Oh no, she gone.
She melted. It did take me longer than I care to admit to figure out what they were doing with the chemicals and the fertilizers and stuff.
Yeah.
I think it was to do with the fact that the Mind Flayer couldn't really absorb bone, so it was just trying to liquefy bodies, I think. Because there was a point when it went through the sort of storm drain
and it left some
bones. I don't know, but apart from that, it doesn't really tell you what it's making them eat chemicals and shit for.
I assumed because it was all nitrogen based things, it was all fertilizer, which is the key component there, is the nitrogen. It's got a couple of extra minerals and stuff. It was just sustenance. It was the building blocks that you could use to make meat or bodies or tissues, like amino acids that become DNA, that become proteins, that become meat effectively. That would be what it was trying to work on, trying to build up using raw materials, because you say it can't break down a bone because it's very hard to break down bone chemically. So what we'd be doing was it was taking raw materials and bits and pieces like nitrogen and just infusing that into its complex carbohydrates and becoming proteins and just reshifting itself, because it is a weird mastery of the physical world. That's all the creatures of the Upside Down, including in a way El, have a mastery over like the world that we basically interact with physically. We interact with things in a very basic level, whereas creatures from the Upside Down and El have this weird thing. Like El makes all of Dustin's toys move, even though they're not supposed to function like that.
Yeah.
Like she makes a train walk along behind like a walking doll. Like she's actually lighting stuff up. Like she can control the electronics in it. And Elle's evolution of her powers in the season become a lot more. It's a lot more about the mastery. It's not about raw power in certain places. It's about understanding the mechanics. Like she's figuring it out. You're good.
Yeah.
But she has developed more of a it's more of like a scalpel approach within the sledgehammer.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the Mind Flayers try to do when it's like making them consume amino acids and whatever, or making consume fertilizers and chemicals and stuff. It's just figuring out how to interact with the world in a way.
Alright.
That was my theory on it anyway. But again, it could be just it has a weird diet.
Yeah, I always assumed that maybe that was what it needed to survive. Maybe we are more carbon based, maybe it's nitrogen based, maybe it needed something like that to survive. Or maybe that's just it couldn't process bone or what have you. But I did like the point that you made there about Elle coming to grips with her powers and getting a more precise use of her power. Because in the first one, all she could really do was basic force push and pull type shit. Now she's able to do much more complex things. She can lift heavier things. I like the fact that she was coming to grips with her powers in this season.
Yeah, and the way that the Upside Down creatures seem to influence people as well. Like the as well, like human skepticism of like pre-existing conditions. Like we talk about, there's an old woman who helps out Nancy. She's trying to investigate, or she wants them to investigate this rat that appeared that looks like one of the rats that was affected in episode 1, and it came in and ate all of her fertilizer. And everyone was like, wait, why did it happen? Like, why did that happen? What's going on here? And everyone else was like, she's nuts. And they never explained that she is actually a known paranoid schizophrenic. But because the guy's attitude in the writer's room for the local paper is, she's just nuts. Nobody explains, no, this woman is known to be mentally ill. But you take everything she says with a grain of salt.
I genuinely thought, because at the point where the editor says she's a paranoid schizophrenic, he's flayed. I always thought it was the mind flayer just trying to push them off the scent. Maybe she had something. But I always just assumed, because the mind flayer is an intelligent creature. It knows what it's doing. It has a grand plan. So I assumed that when it was influencing all the denizens of Hawkins, in particular the editor of this newspaper, the Hawkins Post at the time, he was just saying, no, these people are getting a touch too close to my grand plan here. Feed them some bullshit, fire them, keep acting like you, and get them off my trail. Yeah. But I mean, either way, it works. It's still good for that part of the story.
Yeah, I think that the mysteries of this show are probably the best part, because it is throwing you one way and then another way, and then leaving you with this kind of weird question of like, are the kids aware of how deep this really goes? Yeah. And in a way, you start to wonder, like, do the Russians know what's going to happen? Because they're trying to open the gate to basically hell. Yeah,
I think the Russians' main aim is just they want shit to win a potential war. They're just looking for weapons. Whereas the original, because there's the group that Owens was working with. You see him at the end of the show, because that's who Hopper and Winona Ryder's character, Mrs. Byers. What's her name?
I just know her as Mrs. Byers.
Yeah, Mrs. Byers. Yeah. When they're on the phone saying, this is Antique Chariot. Yeah. Call your guys in. The guy that shows up, that guy's name's Dr. Owens. He's part of the original organisation that created the numbered children. Yeah. At 11. What was their purpose? And then you've got the Russians. I think they just want power, but I think we're going to see more organisations like that show up, because I think we've still not seen the full list of organisations of people that would be interested in this Hellgate or this Upside Down Gate, whatever it's called.
Yeah. There's a lot of times I look at it and go, I don't think you people know what you're messing with.
Yeah, and that is my favourite part of the show. People have seen something that looks powerful, and they've seen these weird demogorgons and demodogs, and we've seen the mind flayer physically, and they thought, that could be powerful. And in 1980s America,
there's a war to win against the Russians, and the Ruskies will do anything to win it, as we now know they will.
I mean, forget the nuclear arms race. Why don't we get the supernatural arms race, and let's get some weapons out of there? And that is, I think, an aspect to the show that is only going to grow and become much more interesting as the show's develop, because we're getting a season 4. Yeah. I think, because I always thought they were doing seasons 1, 2 and 3 and that was it. But there is talks of a season 4.
Right. This is, we'll talk more towards the ending of the show, but I wasn't sure if this ends with season 3, I'd be happy, because of the way it all wraps up and how different characters are just kind of set on their way to just continue life, and maybe they never do anything with this again. Maybe we never have an issue with the Upside Down. Maybe nobody ever tries it again. Maybe they realise what was going on, or the US shuts it down completely, like realising, oh shit, we just had like half a town be annihilated, or be almost annihilated by this weird roving monster. Maybe it's not worth trying to poke and prod at this thing.
Although the post-credit scene leads me to think there's going to be more.
Yeah, that post-credit scene does, like, in terms of we just watched Iron Man 1, and I just watched the post-credit scene of that, and you're watching history in the making as you realise this begins 11 years of Marvel dominance in cinemas. And then watching that post-credit scene, I'm thinking, we're doing more of this. We're doing a season 4 or 5, and it might not involve the original cast of Stranger Things, because those kids are aging now.
Yeah, they're growing up.
Dustin's actor has like actual cheekbones now. I don't know if you never noticed that in season 1. Like, he's a total fucking mushy faced baby. Yeah. And then all of a sudden he comes in season 4 and he's got like a slightly more angular jaw, and he's got like raised like cheekbones and stuff. You're like,
I did notice that.
Shit, puberty just started hitting you.
I did notice that about Lucas. The
guy's jacked.
He's got definition. He's got shoulders. He's getting guns and shit. Fucking hell.
It's all shredded and stuff. And you're like, dude, what? You're a kid.
Yeah, you're a child. And Will's voice broke mid-season for me, because he had the bit of the baby voice, and all of a sudden he's like, guys, guys, what we do? Your voice broke, and they didn't change it. They just let it ride.
They didn't pitch shift it or anything, which I guess is good. I mean, the show about growing up should at some point feature them growing up a little bit.
And I think that's what they're going to continue to do with the show. I don't think we're going to get a Stranger Things season every year. I think it's going to be every 2 to 3 years, just to give them an opportunity to age up. And that's part of the draw of a show like this, is you can have as many seasons as you want with the same cast, but you just age them up in between seasons.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like, you're getting a 22-year-old to play a 15-year-old like they are in Spider-Man.
Yeah.
It's you've got a 16-year-old to play a 16-year-old.
Yeah. So I think we do end up somehow with a Stranger Things, not quite cinematic universe. I guess Stranger Things Netflix universe would be closer to the truth. But I think that when you look at the quality of this show, the action scenes are really good, which is a big step up for them. Like the last couple of seasons, it's been very character drama based, and the character drama is still there. It's still great to watch some of the characters develop, and watching like Chief Hopper go through his struggles of being a parent, and then realizing he will do anything to protect Elle. And realizing like why he'll do that, and like putting everything on paper, and just like him realizing what he would do instinctively is a good thing for him, and like watching him go through the adventure and coming out a better person in a way is a huge kind of deal. Like it's the character drama and development on the show is great. So I guess the last things, I mean the horror's great when it gets Lovecraftian, it's great. When it's about just like kids trying to run away from the bad guys, like the scene of them trying to escape the Russians. Actually, we were to talk about this was when they were high as shit on the truth serum. Yeah,
I was done with that 20 seconds into it. One thing I hate in any form of television, movies, video games is I hate high scenes.
So like stoner comedy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for stoner comedy, but it's just when they've got the high scene and it's just, oh, look, the roof and the pretty colours.
Although I will say,
wrap it up.
See when they were doing that weird kind of slightly kaleidoscope drifting effect on the roof, I was like, that is actually very beautiful.
It's also 80s as fuck because there's a blue grid in the corner that is going to, you're going to see Decepticons running across that, and then Autobots having a big fight.
And you want to talk about peak 80s? They run into the cinema and watch Back to the Future.
Yeah, and Day of the Dead.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
There's lots of weird things in there, like you really are going to date the shit out of this movie, or really date the shit out of this thing with movie references. My favourite of which being the Terminator.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned this earlier that there was a Russian guard, and I told Stephen, he started watching it, he's next to my brother.
Yeah.
I said, look, Stephen, you need to see this because they've introduced a Russian heavy guy, and he is basically the Terminator, and at one point they call it out, and it becomes the funniest fucking thing on the show, where you realise that they're being chased by as close to the Terminator as they can legally get without repercussions, to the point where somebody calls him Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
And you're like,
they even play a kind of a cheap, soundy-likey version of the Terminator theme tune at some point. Well, at one point he's standing, I think he's either at the mall or he's at the gate at the back of the mall, and he's just doing a sort of head pan left and right. They play a sort of cheap, sound-alike version of the Terminator. I was watching it, and I remember I was watching it with my older brother, and he randomly pointed out that motherfucker has to be Schwarzenegger's stunt double or something, because it looks just enough like him to evoke Terminator. But you can tell that they don't really focus on him for too long. But yeah, that was probably one of my favourite parts. Just having the Russian Terminator pop up there. And
I think one of the things about the show is that the comedy is just there enough to make it worth it. Like when nobody in the show is really smart, and I like that.
Yeah.
Like nobody knows everything.
Yeah, everyone's just going on what they can see and thoughts that they have. No one knows exactly what's going on. Yeah. As concerned Upside Down or
like
11 or anything.
Like Mrs. Byers is a housewife in the 80s. She doesn't know how magnets work. Because nobody knows how magnets work. Yeah. That's why the Insane Clown Posse wrote that genius lyric. Yep. So, when she needs to figure out what's going on, why all her magnets stop working and now will never work, she has to go to the only smart person she can think of, the only like scientifically gifted person she can think of, which is the high school like science teacher. Yeah. Who, honestly, I'm not going to lie, that dude fucks kids. I don't know what it is, but for some reason, that guy should not be in a school. He is a fucking child molester.
Fucks kids. No, you know who's a fucking child molester? You remember when Robin and Steve are getting interrogated by the Russians?
Yeah.
The guy that comes in with the leather apron.
The doctor.
Yeah, that guy sniffs bike seats. That guy fucks beanbags. He's not right. There's something wrong with that boy.
Not good.
He did also remind me of, you remember in Toy Story 2 when Woody gets bought by Big Al.
Yeah.
And his arm's been ripped and he's all torn.
And the guy who comes in to fix him,
that guy, spitting image of the weird arse raper doctor from.
I think that's him in the 80s. In the 80s, he's a Russian scientist working on an evil project. He disappears, escapes, tries to avoid the Kremlin, and becomes a toy repair artist, I guess.
In the early 2000s.
Yeah, it's all part of the larger cinematic universe that we don't understand yet.
Yeah.
We'll see it eventually. The pieces will start coming together.
Yeah.
Like Woody's arm.
Talking about sort of peak 80s, this show is set in 1985.
Yeah.
Next season will realistically be set, end of the 80s, start of the 90s. So we have another so many years of 1990s Stranger Things with 90s bullshit.
Oh, God.
That we'll be able to relate to, but people that are watching it nowadays just going, you remember the 90s? Nope. No one wants to remember the 90s.
I think it's time we talk about the two elephants when we're hitting 50 minutes on this podcast.
Okay.
Just about Stranger Things. And, well, all the show has been fantastic. As we said earlier, stealing the show every time he shows up, Chief Hopper.
Yep.
How does Stranger Things progress to other couple seasons with Chief Hopper being dead?
This is my thoughts on it. I don't think he's dead. They never show him.
You never see a body.
You never see a body. You never see him, getting shot or getting thrown into or caught by the explosion or anything. You don't see him die. You don't hear anything from him. So I don't think he's dead.
Right. Interesting. Because that's the problem is I now have like the layers of cynicism overlap each other to the point where if he's not dead, it's going to be bullshit. But at the same time, I don't think Stranger Things it would do that type of bullshit, but it also would for a different reason. Like there'd be a twist on the regular bullshit of a character surviving something that you have no right to. I think I'm looking at it like in a weird, like almost too meta level to understand what's really going on here. And I do think that there would be a way of him surviving, but at the same time, I kind of don't. I don't want him to be alive. I think his
death is more of a gut punch, and particularly the ending with Elle and the note is much more poignant if Hopper actually is dead.
Yeah.
Fair enough, we'll be losing one of the best characters
in the
past
show's
10
history.
years.
Yeah,
like past 10 years worth of creation of characters.
Yeah,
Jim Hopper's probably out there. It would be a shame to lose him, but at the same time, for the show, it helps a lot because it grows Elle.
Yeah,
makes her grow up a bit, and it would probably force the rest of the cast to grow up a bit as well.
Yeah.
So it would be a shame if we don't get to see him again, but at the same time, I would completely understand.
Yeah, I would prefer we don't, but I'm hoping they don't, because I think Stranger Things is like the people making that show are smart enough to realize if we bring him back, it's hacky as fuck. No one's going to be like, yeah, they brought back the character that was definitely dead in a nuclear explosion. Because he hid in a fridge or some shit. Like don't Indiana Jones this.
Please don't Indiana Jones this.
So
no one watching this show wants to be reminded of the Crystal Skull. Unless it's Crystal Skull vodka with Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah, true.
That guy is not right. Someone needs to check up on Dan Aykroyd.
He's not well.
He's not a well man.
I heard somebody talking about it like, oh, he's so great, and I'm like, no, you guys haven't seen what I've seen about Dan Aykroyd.
You haven't watched him in the 2000s, have you?
He's a little bit crazy. With him being, if he's gone, that was the greatest way they could have sent him off with him. We seeing him, air quotes, die because we didn't see a body. Although I think when you're standing right next to it and you're not wearing any protective suits or whatever, I'm assuming he was evaporated.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
And I'm really hoping they don't pull some bullshit like, well, when they evaporated him, he disappeared through the hole in the wall to become part of the Upside Down, and his body will come back out, and he'll be part Mind Flayer, part Jim Hopper or whatever, and you'll be like, oh,
no, that'd be even worse if they brought him back and he was the villain.
Yeah,
I think the Duffer Brothers would be crucified.
I think you could have a certain level where it's the Mind Flayer using his essence and using his body to fuck with Elle, because Elle is the biggest threat to the Mind Flayer on the planet. So I think if you could do that, that would be that's how they're going to do it, if they're going to do it.
Yeah.
I just hope they are smart enough to not do it. So how does Stranger Things survive without Jim Hopper? I don't know if they do. I don't want it to try and bring him back through some bullshit, but I think if they're going to try and bring it back, the show has to come back on Elle's shoulders. And I think, was it Millie
Bobby Brown.
Yeah. Millie
most
Bobby Brown.
English actress in the planet with the most redneck name. Millie Bobby Brown, you get down here.
Hey, Millie.
Hey, Millie.
If it comes back on her shoulders, I first of all think it's a bad idea, because it's a bad idea to do that to such a young child actor who is so good. She is very talented.
Fantastic.
She's going to be a force to be reckoned with in like 10 years' time.
Say this without like any fear of contradiction, but I genuinely think she's going to get Sigourney Weaver level.
Yeah.
I think she's going to be the next big horror actress.
I just hope that we are smart enough as a culture in a way that we don't try and put a show on the back of a child actor.
I genuinely think the next part of the show is probably going to be more Nancy and Jonathan based, to be honest.
Yeah,
I can see them stepping up for a bit, because Nancy had a big part in this show.
Nancy was great this season. I spent an entire season waiting for Jonathan to die to defend Nancy. I don't know about you, but I watched their entire arc and was like, Nancy matters, John does not. Yeah,
Jonathan's taking a hell of a backseat. And first season, he was out to find Will. He had a purpose.
Yeah.
Season 2, I don't really remember Jonathan having much of a story.
Nah. Season 3, he's there as I assumed he was there to take the bullet for Nancy.
Yeah,
especially against Jack Busey, Gary Busey's son.
Yeah,
Jake Busey. Sorry.
Jake Busey. Yeah.
That face is genetic. How unfortunate is that?
I was watching this with my brother, and he said, "Jake Busey, that name sounds familiar." And I said, "That's Gary Busey's kid." And he went, "Oh, I don't think I know what he looks like." I went, "You'll see."
It looks like him plus 20 years of cocaine.
I mean, all I said to him was, "You know what Gary Busey looks like?" He went, "Yeah, that's what Jake Busey looks like." There's exactly the same. And we were watching it. It gets to the bit where Nancy's bringing the coffees in, and he went, "Right, so which one's Jake Busey?" And he went, "No, wait, never mind."
I got it.
I got it.
It's the one that accidentally just pulled his top lip up, right?
Yeah.
How do you have a normal conversation like this? It's really, really easy.
Haunting looking dude, man.
It sticks out like a sore thumb, and once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Yeah.
But when at the same time, because Jake Busey is part of the Mind Flayers congregation, when he is revealed to be flayed and they have a fight scene, it's horrifying. Because again, that's where I was expecting Jonathan to take the bullet, and at one point he gets hit with a steel like surgical chair.
Yeah.
Holy fuck, that hit.
Yeah.
That was edited perfectly. I saw that, I was like, oh, like I immediately just kind of like, holy shit, he just actually took that hit.
Yeah.
Obviously, he would never have a hit like an actor like that. That would be a stunt double, and that would be well edited to be more impactful than it was. But see, when you see that hit thing, or that scene, it looks like he got hit with the fucking chair.
Yeah.
And it was amazing.
The follow up from that scene is him crawling, because he's been hitting the base of the spine with a steel chair.
Yeah.
It's him crawling away. I thought, did they just fucking paralyse him? Because I've been kneed in the back before during a game of rugby, and I felt like I was shot. So I can only imagine what it'd be like to get hit with a steel chair to that. And I thought, that's the end of Jonathan. Yeah. That's how Jonathan's going to go.
But if you want to talk about horror, that reminds me, the entire like run through of the hospital scene for Jonathan and Nancy reminds me a lot of the original like Halloween 2, the run through with Michael Myers, where it's like, oh, everything's fine, he's in a hospital, what could possibly go?
Yeah.
Oh, everyone fucking dies and you didn't notice it because you were dealing with your own thing in the corner here. And just the reveal of like realizing how far the flayed one or the mind flayer will go to actually make its dreams happen is like, it's terrifying. And you have it embodied by these two like honestly, they are the big alpha 80s males. Like, they're a little bit misogynistic, they're like the bosses and bullies of the workplace. They are what you are worried Billy will grow up to be in that environment. And having them like thrash around these little kids, and you're like, oh, okay, this is how powerful the Mind Flayer will be. Yeah,
because it's effortlessly when I think it's the editor's name is Tom. Picks up Jonathan effortlessly. With one hand and just chucks him. And Billy does the same thing in a later episode. Picks up, I think it's Elle. Again, one hand. I get that Ellie wouldn't be physically huge, but still, he keeps him up there with literally no effort expelled. And I did like a little sort of continuity thing. They always did a little red mark on Elle's neck. Right. Never really properly healed. And it was a nice little continuity thing for me, because I like it when they do that. I hate it when they show characters that take damage, then 2 scenes later, they're clean. Right. So I liked what they did with Steve, even 3 months later, he still had a couple of the scars, and there was a little bit of the dark, the bruising underneath. Although, I like it when they do shit like that. If
we're going to talk about injuries, I need to talk about in the start of the battle for Starcourt Mall, which is episode 8, we realise that Elle has a parasite in her. It's part of the Mind Flayer, and it got in through a cut in the leg, when she was bit in the leg in the previous episode.
Yeah, the Mind Flayer sent out one of the tendrils to try and draw her in.
And there's a little worm wriggling about in there. The scene where it starts off so smart because you have Jonathan actually being useful for a change, where he's like, no, stop trying to do stuff with it. I am gonna do a little bit of first aid to try and remove the parasite that's affecting Elle. I watched it and I was like, okay, cool, we're gonna see him, and he gets a knife, sterilizes it through the flame and stuff, and I'm like, alright, awesome, we're gonna see Jonathan be useful and smart and actually prove his worth as a character. He cuts away from where the parasite is and then starts trying to dig it in under the shin muscle to get to the worm. That scene made me really uncomfortable because it's just Elle. They're basically just torturing a character.
Yeah.
And I know I just talked about how it's cool that every character in the scene is stupid because there's no Google. You can't just Google shit on your phone to fix the problem. But at the same time, the lack of common sense and in a scene where you're doing surgery on a child is really fucked up. I don't know what it was, just something about that scene just made me really uncomfortable with the show, the way that they were slicing open a leg, okay, small surgical cut, and then all of a sudden he's like, I'm gonna try and get my hand in your shin and pull out this evil monster. I'm like, are we not just gonna slice closer to where it is and then squeeze it out? I guess it's a fucking worm, it's a parasite, it's a leech type creature. Slice it open and then squidge it out like toothpaste. Yeah. Just that scene in general, I'm that played for way too long. Yeah. It's a solid 60 seconds of just looking at Elle's face and love Elle. She's adorable. And then all of a sudden you're making her scream as we try and shove her hand in a wound we made to try and help her. I'm like, oh no, what are you? That was just a weird shot. I didn't like it at all. It just made me really uncomfortable.
Speaking of Elle though, Elle has a fucking body count in this episode.
Oh yeah.
There's a bit when they're in the Starcourt Mall in the final couple episodes where there's a car in the middle of the shopping centre, because apparently in the 80s people were just enthused by winning cars. People were just
no,
really
they still do that.
about,
in the US they still do that. I saw a Ferrari in a mall in North Carolina once.
In America people just like to win cars. I mean, who wouldn't like to win free shit? But to break into the mall, there's flayed ones and shit everywhere. Elle just picks up this car and fucking launches it.
Oh, they're just Russians.
And kills 3 people. Oh, they were just Russians.
The thing is, if they were flayed people, you'd be like, okay, they're flayed people. Yeah. They're affected by the parasite that is the Mind Flayer. Those are just Russians doing their job. Yeah. And so she kills 4 of them instantly with crushing them with a car.
Just hucks a car at them. And it was cool yet again to see the evolution of the character, where she realises she just can't do some little psychic trickery to kill things. She's going to have to start killing people.
I'm going to just body people with a car.
Yeah, or just beat them to death with
and it was when you see it, you're like,
convertible.
Oh shit. It's a great oh shit moment, and it's a reminder that Elle is a child but is still the most powerful person in this world, and you realise she's been playing with kiddie gloves on for a long time.
It's almost a Captain Marvel scene. She's like, oh, I've been fighting with one hand tied behind my back this entire time. Yeah. I can do this type of shit. Yeah. It works for the show.
Yeah. And the other elephant in the room is the death of Billy.
Yeah.
He gets his little bit of sanity back. He recovers himself just enough through Elle going into his vision and bringing back a little thread of humanity, and he unravels the rest of the Mind Flayer's control from there. And then from there you have him making the last stand. Yeah. With the last, he now has control of his body, he would stand up against Mind Flayer. Although, can you imagine if he was never aware, if when the Mind Flayer takes over, your consciousness gets shoved to the side. Yeah. You get pushed into a little box. You can't see, you can't hear, you just, when you appear back, when Elle drags you back through your mind, gives you back into the body, and you just wake up, in effect, looking at a 20-foot monster with tendrils everywhere that's made out of meat that you think you can see your friend from high school's face as part of the shoulder or whatever, and all of a sudden it's just screaming at you.
There's that chick Heather that I worked with. Wait, why is it? Oh shit.
You wake up into absolute fucking carnage and chaos. Can you imagine being Billy in that moment? I would have just fucking lost it and just bang, gun to the head.
I think that was Billy's sort of final redemption, because he realised he's basically killed 50 to 60 people from the town, maybe more, to give the Mind Flayer his body.
But is that the Flayer? Is that him? So I think more to do with
I still think that he was present, but the Flayer was just kind of tapping and just going, no, you do this, you work for me, that which is puppeteering thing.
I wonder if he was given a, we talk about what his perspective would be, was he shot in a little box in the back of his mind, did he not see or hear anything, or was he along for the ride? Like, was he there? Like, was he in the passenger seat? If the mind flayer's driving the car, was Billy in the passenger seat or in the back seat watching it all happen? Because if that was the case, holy fuck, Billy has seen some shit.
I like to think that it would be that, because the mind flayer needs them to meld in.
Yeah.
So he'll be in the passenger seat. The mind flayer's in control.
Yeah.
But I still think he'd be present for all the atrocities and shit that he'd see.
Because I mean, there's a great scene talk about like horror of the flayed giving their bodies to the mind flayer.
Yeah.
That's like, whoa.
Yeah, the conveyor belt of people just coming in. And actually, just on the subject of that, talking about the mind flayer taking control, I think it is more of a case of they're the passenger, because the bit where he's looking for chemicals in the swimming pool sort of utility cupboard, and Mrs. Wheeler comes up and says, "I'm sorry, I didn't come meet you."
Yeah.
The flare jumps in for a second and says, "Just fucking hit her head off the bunker and get out of here."
Yeah.
And then he wakes back up and Billy's in control again. That didn't happen. Mrs. Wheeler's just standing behind him going, "Are you going to talk to me or not?" And then he just goes, "I need to get out of here."
Yeah.
So I kind of think he was present.
Yeah.
But the mind flayer was just going, "No, I'm taking control of this bitch.
Yeah.
You work for me now, boy."
So during the last battle for the Starcourt Mall, Billy does actually give his life, and like he's holding back tendrils to try and stop them from getting to Elle. And it's a great redemption of him. It's the last moment. It might not be enough to fix all the things he's done in his life, regardless of what percentage of control he had during the mind flaying. I think it does give him that last little kind of good guy action to send him off. I mean, he's a great character, shitty person, great character. So I think that sends him off in a positive light. What I found really fucked up though is that he is Max's older brother, and Max is left alone pretty much at the end of the season. Like everyone, the end kind of montage of everyone leaving, like the buyers go away.
Yeah.
Nancy does Nancy go with them? I don't think so.
I think Nancy and Jonathan, they do their own thing.
I think they've split up, or they're going to be working long distance or whatever, or something.
No,
like
Nancy
that.
stays in Hawkins, because then shot it's Lucas, Max, Mike, and Nancy all just kind of standing while they wave everybody else away.
Yeah, and I realized that Max is really alone at the end of the show.
Her dad died.
Yeah,
like, her dad's not in the picture.
The shot of her like on her bed, like kind of curled up. I'm like, oh fuck! I forgot entirely that Max is at this point has lost a lot, and I feel really bad because of like her growing with Elle.
Yeah,
we've grown to like her more because she's not the odd one out now. She's part of the gang. She's part of the D&D group, and I want to see more of her. And it's weird that the buyers take kind of custody of Elle.
Yeah,
it does make a bit of sense, but I think the story continues with those three. I think they'll be what in season 4. The buyers, Mrs. Buyer, Elle, and
her name's Joyce, by the way.
Joyce Byers, yeah. So Joyce, we got there at the end, at the very end of the podcast.
The very end of the podcast.
I think the show will begin with Joyce, Will, and Elle, because those two are the most attuned to the actions of those in the Upside Down, and I think they'll be the ones that come back at the start of the show, and I think we will end up in Hawkins again.
I think what they're going to do is after. Because the organisation that originally created Elle and gave her powers, I think they're going to hear about what happened in Hawkins where the mind flayer came to being and attacked Hawkins. I think they're going to try and track Elle down, but they're going to realise that she's not in Hawkins anymore. They're in wherever the hell they are now, Indianapolis, Illinois.
I don't think they mention.
All right.
I think they just disappear. I think they just say, "Yeah, we're going to leave now." I think they've mentioned a couple places, like they've suggested maybe go here, might go there, just to get away from it all. But they'll be like in Idaho. They'll be in somewhere you wouldn't expect them to be, and all of a sudden they come back and it's oh right, we're we have to come back to Hawkins to, and then we meet all the cast who have grown and hopefully had a normal life for like half an hour. Just a half. That's what they say. We'll come back for Thanksgiving. Can we just get like a half hour little special? Yeah, just of them just sitting down having dinner or whatever, and just that'll be.
Give us a beach episode. I'd be fucking
give us
down.
the beach episode.
give us the baseball episode, the beach episode. Fucking, I would genuinely hands down love an episode where they just go to an amusement park for a day.
Yeah.
Show Elle, have an ice cream for the first time. Yeah. You can have that beerus moment. Just what is this delicious red thing? Oh, it's a strawberry.
Ooh, strawberry.
Yeah, just show us Elle being a normal child. Then, because that would show you that she's grown up. She's getting used to human life again, as opposed to factory life when she was plugged into machines and told to crush Coke tins. And
yeah. That's part of what is my favourite part of the show is we want that episode. We want that nice, calm episode because we love these characters. They've grown on us so much over the last years because they're children. They're inevitably endearing in some ways, unless they're little shitheads. So,
looking at you, Mike.
You fucking cunt.
You can't.
We have grown all these characters because of little character moments. For example, Lucas is the only one who likes New Coke because during the entire show, it's not cola they're drinking, it's New Cola.
Yeah. And it's not Coke Classic yet.
It's not Coke Classic, it's New Cola. And that is just, again, you want to talk about peak 80s being used to sell characters that you will fall for that are just great. I would say that is almost peak Stranger Things.
Yeah.
But I think that's my thoughts on the show wrapped up just about.
Yeah. Although there's one thing I do want to get your thoughts on. Throughout this, I've been saying that Elle's coming to grips with her powers, but at the end, she loses her powers. Because she gets the parasite, and we don't know if maybe the parasite has some kind of lasting effects, and maybe it's doing an avatar and it's blocking her mojo or something. But towards the end, she tries to, when they're packing up the buyer's house and they're loading it up into the movement van, she tries to use her powers to grab a teddy bear, but she can't quite do it. And then before she tries to move the car, but it's not moving at all. So I just want to think, how do you think she gets her powers back, or do you think she's just going to forgo her powers and continue on as a normal 10-year-old?
I wonder if the powers are related to there being a connection to the Upside Down. I wonder if because the gate is now sealed, if it's shut.
She closed it herself in season 2, but in season 3 she used the powers.
But the Mind Flayer was still out there.
Ah, true.
So does that mean there's still a tenuous grasp? There's a little bit of a link. Does that mean when Elle's powers come back, because it's connected to the Upside Down,
right.
Is that how they realise? Like, Elle goes, oh yeah, I could totally close that door if I had my psychic powers. Boom. Oh shit, I can close the door from across the room.
Yeah, Mind Flayer's back.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
Like, is Hawkins okay? Do we need to go back? Like, is that what starts off season 4?
That could be interesting. I think it would be, maybe, if you're talking about that, maybe her powers disappear because the Mind Flayers disappeared. I think a good way to start season 4 would be having the other numbers that she's met with, because she meets with number 9.
Yeah, I think we met number 9 in season 1.
I think it's 9, tracking down Elle saying, my powers have gone, what the hell's happened?
Oh yeah, there was that, I just remembered that there was an entire episode from season 2, I think it was, where they go to another city, and like she pushes like a train cart and shit.
Yeah.
I forgot about that entirely.
I think she meets one for sure, but I can't remember if she meets other numbered children. Yeah. But she meets 9 for sure, and that's where she has the other 80s ass makeover where she gets the suit jacket and the
gets the kind of hardcore look on her.
She gets the punker look.
It's pretty funny. So yeah, I think that Elle's powers will be, if not a main issue of the next season, like how does Elle survive now that she doesn't have these, like, does she have to learn more? Does she have to ingratiate herself in like general general culture more than what she does now, which is kind of get by, and then when the moment's there, she'll use psychic powers to just solve all her problems. Does she then have to become a better person, smarter, faster, whatever? Does she have to change and grow to become someone in season 4, or do we have her powers coming back as an indicator that something is wrong?
Yeah, I mean, I know what I'd like to see that her powers are gone. That it's, like you said, it is linked to the Mind Flayer. That she's now that the Mind Flayer's done, she's closed off that link, the gate to the underworld or the Upside Down or whatever it actually is closed off. That's her lost her powers. Yeah. I like to see that maybe in season 4 she's normal. She's going to school. She's doing regular work.
One thing I've just realised is that there's an entire world of mystery about Stranger Things that we don't know about. There is the issue of the fact that there was a massive corporation training psychic children. Yep. The fact that the Russian military is involved. The fact that there's a US investigations into this whole thing. Would it not be interesting to see the characters of the show try and figure out the world that's really going on, like the secret deep cover operations going on, and bring us the truth about the chemicals turning the frogs gay?
Yeah,
we want that.
I think that's going to be Nancy's story in season 4, because she's had season 1, the Demogorgon and the psychic child that happened to her. She got taken to the Upside Down, had to beat a Demogorgon to death with a fucking baseball bat. Season 2, she got more involved, and she had to deal with a hell of a amount of shit with all the demodogs and stuff running about, and the bit in the facility where Sean Astin dies.
And they bring him back for like 5 seconds just to kill him again.
Yeah.
He was recredited with that, so I'm guessing they reshot that.
Yep, probably.
I'm guessing that's not a flashback. That was reshot because it's totally different lighting. It doesn't look CGI. I think they genuinely brought him back just to kill him again. In which case, fuck you, Stranger Things.
Fuck it, Duffer Brothers, go fuck yourself. Why did you bring back Sean Astin just to kill him again? Then again, that guy just loves working. I wouldn't surprise me if he just went, guys, bring me back, shoot it from a different angle, and kill me again.
Yeah, kill me again. It was fun. It was awesome.
Then you go to season 3 where there's been a mind flare. There's been people eating chemicals and shit, and all these rats exploding. I think that spurs Jonathan and Nancy on in season 4 to try and get to the bottom of this.
Yeah.
So we might see them not even in Hawkins. We might see them,
hunting
Washington,
down leads and stuff,
trying to track shit down, interviewing people and getting to the bottom. You'll probably see them getting arrested.
Yeah.
For
breaking and entering to try and find out what the fuck's going on.
But
it's a good. There's a lot of angles. There's a lot of stuff left on the table. Even if Elle no longer has psychic powers, even if the door to the other world is completely shut off, and we're left with just this weird, not quite spy but kind of journalistic investigation show, I'm down for it. Because if you can't tell, we love Stranger Things.
Yeah, we love Stranger Things. And we've also got there's already Demogorgons out there, because the Russians have got one that we can see.
Those Ruskies have got one.
Those Ivans have got one.
Yeah.
So what's to stop there being other creatures that have been captured? Because the Americans, they've probably fucking got something.
Yeah.
They've got maybe a demodog or something that they found in the facility. Because you noticed that when they went back, the area's clean.
Yeah.
Like all the demodogs that were there.
Scrubbed clean.
Yeah. So that you can't imagine that has been dissected somewhere. So there's endless threads that could lead off from season 3.
Yeah.
And not many of them need Elle to have her powers.
Yeah.
But all I'll say is been 3 rock solid seasons of Stranger Things.
Yeah.
There's been a couple of episodes I think that was dragging a bit, but there's been not many. I think maybe 1 out of 24 episodes. I'm thinking that could have been done better.
Yeah.
But not many.
And that's a solid hitter. So
it's a rare thing to say that each season of a show is just fucking solid and builds upon the next show.
Yeah.
Or next episode, next season.
Yeah. Like, I've watched 24 hours of a show and I would maybe change 5 minutes of it.
Yeah.
It is an absurd record.
Oh, it's ridiculous. Because most shows nowadays you'll get the first season's always good because that's to draw you in. Second season's more just right, we're giving you the big budget, we're going to relax a bit. Stranger Things just goes, no, we're going to do the same thing, because realise they always do the first couple of episodes are very normal, it's just kids being kids. Same with season 2 and season 3, it's all just kids being kids, fucking around. Then the horror kicked in. They've never changed that formula.
Yeah.
And it's always worked. They've stuck with the formula that works.
I'd look forward to season 4. I mean, fingers crossed for it. If it ends at season 3, c'est la vie. But if it goes to season 4, bring it.
Yeah. I'd be very okay with them ending at season 3. Obviously, because I'm a goody bastard and I like more of good things.
Yeah.
I'd watch a season 4.
Yeah.
Make no mistake about it, I would watch a season 4. But I'd be cool with it if they just ended at season 3, because it takes guts to just say, you know what, I like how that ended, we're going to leave it at that. Elle got away. Will doesn't have to face the horrors of the Upside Down anymore.
Yeah.
Mike's going to try this long distance thing, even though he's a cunt. And we've got all these other different story threads, and they could resolve themselves off screen, and maybe comics or something. They could resolve it. But if there was never another season of Stranger Things, I think I'd be okay with it.
Yeah. So with that in mind, I've been Colin Graham.
I've been Dom Anderson,
and we've been talking Gibberpish about Stranger Things.